Yeah, hello everybody, thank you for having us. I'm Andrew Hacon, my wife's Annie's up the end there. We run Cumberee Brahmins at Cloncurry. I'm fourth generation. Yep, we've been there for a long time and I think this has been a great day. Very impressed.
G'day everyone, Brad Inglis from Sturt Plains. We're family owned operation 360 kilometres south of Katherine, Northern Territory. My partner Lisa Dyer, and we're sort of family operation with long time. I've been there since 1974 through Lisa's mum and dad, John and Bow Dyer, and we just sell commercial bulls and breed good, high quality grade Brahmins, and it's a great turnout today, and appreciate it.
Yeah, g'day, I'm Dave O'Hare. I'm an independent stock agent based in Darwin, and I've spent 30 odd years in the north between the Gulf, Kimberley and the Territory. Family man, 4 kids, lovely wife, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, you hold on to the microphone, David. I'll ask you the first question. I think it's really great to have David here as a representative. Probably as crazy as we don't get enough experience at getting out there and seeing other people's operations. I'm lucky, like David, I have a lot of personal experience with travelling around and seeing firsthand other people's operations, their levels of profitability, how they go about it, who's good at it, who's bad at it. You know, throw away all the country life articles. We see the reality of what people do and don't do on their day-to-day enterprises, and we do see what makes some people far more successful than others. So it's really great to have David here. So David, you've been involved in the industry for 30 years and survived the live export ban. What are the biggest changes you've seen in Brahman cattle during your career?
Oh geez, that's a loaded question, mate. Probably I've been at 30 years buying cattle as an agent and worked for exporters, but 30 years ago I didn't know a hell of a lot, so I didn't pay much attention to what I probably should have been. But look, probably the number one thing is weight for age in cattle and the use of mixing Brahman genetics with the animals, the breeding herds that they had in the north. And because when I first went to the north, there was still a lot of short-horn cattle. We talked earlier that I worked on a place that had Herefords, in Cloncurry. So, certainly the use of Brahman genetics and the crossbreeding of different Brahman genetics has created a really good weight for age lift in the last 30 years. Yeah.
Thank you. We'll go next to Brad Inglis, seeing as he's next to you. Brad, having grown up watching the Brahman industry evolve, what are some of the greatest advantages Brahman influence has brought to your family business?
For sure, with the development of the live export industry and the market suitability there, absolutely. And mate, there's some hard country in Northern Australia. I presume some people in this room have been up there, and all this talk of different breeds moving into the north and all that. I tell you now, the Brahman influence in Northern Australia has made country suitable for cattle breeding, where historically it was pretty hard. And there's some pretty tough country, and the old Brahman survived there, mate. And I think for our business, not only, I remember the old father-in-law telling me yarns of shooting short-horn bullocks off the front veranda when he was there. And I think, it's just not even just live export, but bullock growers and replacement efforts for people who want quality cattle, and old Brahmins have done that.
Yeah, we've really been a victim of our own success, haven't we? I mean, we pioneered, moved into the north, made their systems profitable. They could afford fences, lanes, waters. Everything became a bit more comfortable, which is probably, we're a victim of that now if they think they can introduce crossbreeds. I mean, I'm of the vintage too that went to the north whilst there was still Hereford cattle there, and it was a great day when they threw all the sharpened spoons out and you didn't have to poke cancer eyes out of Hereford cows anymore. But sadly we've got to move on, and not too many people remember the bad old days, but we do. Andrew, same question to you, mate. Having grown up watching the Brahman industry evolve, what are some of the greatest advantages the Brahman influence has brought to your business?
I'd probably just go back maybe to the 80s for a start. when we were little blokes growing up at Cloncurry. Yeah, they were really dry years, and I remember my dad and granddad and uncles, they packed up our whole cow herd and shipped them all out to the Barclay. It was large distances, not much infrastructure, a long way to water. Then they brought them back to Cloncurry. They went to Normanton with them a year or two later. Then they went to Hughenden, north and south of Hughenden. So our cattle got dragged from pillar to post. And I know other cattle, they would have done the same with any other breed, I suppose, but they handled it, they got us through, and from there we kicked on with our family. But yeah, they had a lot of tough years, and the Brahmins got us through. But then going on from that, we run our cows, few people, very cost efficiently. Not much inputs into our cow herd. They're an easy maintenance herd for us to run and manage.
Thanks, Drew. Probably changing direction a little bit here now, Edwin. Your JBS-owned Townsville Meatworks is the most northern plant of the major processors. Could you briefly describe the importance Brahman cattle have to the performance and success of that plant, with its great livestock manager, Fraser?
Yeah, thanks for that. I'll just say, we're talking about the change in the industry from 20 years ago when I was in Townsville and those back at the plant there to a few months ago when I was there last. Instantly you notice the massive change in the type of cattle. Brahmins have kept up with the trend of the industry around younger cattle, heavier weights, good frame animals. There's a lot of poles. It was not the week I was there was very few horns going through. It was mainly pole cattle. So if you think about just the 20 years from then to now, the Brahman herd that's been killed at Townsville is absolutely reflective of where the industry's moved to. Younger cattle, better weights, good frames, good carcasses, and it's pleasing to see. So there's a huge content, and I was making a comment before. It'd actually be interesting to know what our statistic is around the content we're actually killing, but certainly Townsville will be well up in the 90% of content cattle up there, and good quality cattle. Yeah.
Thanks, Edwin. While you've got the microphone, I'll just ask the next question of you as well. Like grass-fed brands and their success have been a great positive for Australia's beef industry. The evolution of JBS's Right to Roam brand with a relatively low MSA index requirement is very attainable for Brahman cattle. Is the North seen as having a future supply potential for this brand?
It's a good brand for us. I'm a bit mixed because I've got my own personal views on it. But as I said in that presentation before, in our northern, say out of 27,000 head of cattle, there's very little MSA cattle we do. I think I'd rather look at what's the actual carcass value, and that Right to Roam is more around more of a natural beef type animal, which there is a growing market for that. But inherently, where the Brahman industry grows is more of a natural type environment. There's not a lot of fertiliser.
Do you think it has a potential to move in on high-priced organic product and create a middle ground? That's not.
Well, there is in America. So the North American market, that's where that natural beef market is. Organics are very strong over there as well. That's been the natural beef market's been a growing position particularly in North America. So look, there's scope for it, but it's a niche market, so it is limited.
Yeah. Back to David. In general, how do Indonesian cattle buyers perceive our cattle, and what are their key requirements from a livestock agent's point of view?
Yeah, right. The Indonesians really like our cattle. Obviously, they keep coming back, and what did they take last year? 500,000 or 600,000 cattle. But their main requirements are Brahman. Gone are the days where you can flick a black and a brindle and a horny and a crossbred in there. That's in the past. They could slip through, but these days, it's more. The requirement is more high grade. The majority of cattle that go to Indo are feeder cattle, sort of 270 to 380 kilos. They do take cows at certain times. Well, in previous years, a lot of cows, but and a few medium cattle at certain times of year with different religious festivals requiring, direct killed cattle. But overall, the Indonesians love our cattle. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we had Troy Setter, and speaking at one of our conferences last year, and he said that there was going to be some acceptance for more crossbred cattle over there. Has that changed since lumpy skin and that? Has there been a bit of a turnaround?
No, it's actually pushback.
Yep.
One of the only companies that actually take crossbred cattle are CPC, because they can run them through their own supply chains in Indonesia, but the majority of exporters that are selling into Southeast Asia as a whole prefer high-grade cattle.
Yep.
Very, very few cattle go in there as crossbreds currently, so it's a warning to those that aren't engaging in herd improving in their own herds in the north, to be honest.
Yeah, thanks. Back to Drew. Mate, having progressed to using some softer breeds in your wonderful country at Cloncurry in your herd, please explain the reasons for going down this path. To all these Brahman breeders.
No, we're still bloody passionate Brahman breeders. Annie and I, we breed our bulls, our commercial bulls, and we breed a few Charbray bulls as well. My brothers have probably progressed more down the crossbred route than we have. So, but they're all very still focused on their cow for country, bull for market. So, I don't see our family moving away from Brahmins at all. We all understand what they do for us and the diversity they give us. So, we're lucky we've got sort of breeding country at Cloncurry and then some fattening country, south of Mount Isa. We can fatten crossbred steers there and tap into that feeder market. But also, we won't be going away from the Brahman. My brothers won't be going away from the Brahman herd. That's our nucleus. That's where we'll be. That's our space.
Thanks, Andrew. Brad, like a self-confessed livestock husbandry guru and cow whisperer, livestock industry-wise, what are the greatest benefits the Brahman cattle can bring to a Northern Territory grazing operation?
Oh,
So,
yes,
no, sorry.
I mean, like I said before, country can be a bit tough at times in areas, can be really good in areas, but, they've got to go for a walk, October, November in the heat, and it's pretty hard going. I don't even like riding horse that time of year, let alone a cow having to go walk 5, 6, 7 k's, 10 k's for a feed, and instead of lying in a trough like a bull pig, which some other breeds do, the old Brahman, mate, she's out there doing it. Bulls, cows, everything. And I see it over my boundary fence, what that time of year some other breeds do. And, we're all talking about welfare and we're all talking about, that's probably a big topic of conversation there. That was the animal welfare this, animal welfare that. And, Northern Australia with other breeds that aren't suited to that country, people are creating welfare issues. And that's my opinion. I see it every day. Not at our place, but next.
And
you must say.
Yeah. Like less staff, less experienced staff. Brahmans have got to be the easier cattle to handle from a husbandry and just a station management point of view in the north still.
Yep. Well, as an example, I've got 3 girls at home who work for some big operations with other breeds last year, and their first week in the yards, they were just had this whole perception of, fear and scared, and after the first week, they just said, "We're sleeping at night. We love this. This is fantastic. How easy is this?"
Yeah.
And I reckon they're easier to work than anything. I reckon. I love it. I love it every day. I love the breed, and I love seeing people get keen in the industry, get keen in the breed, and understand the breed. Because tell you what, I still enjoy it, and don't know about paying commission agents too much, but other than that, it's all right.
Back up to Edwin. And you probably already answered this question, Edwin. Well, I believe you probably have. Meat quality versus yield. We know Brahmins are better at one than the other. What should Brahman seed stock producers be concentrating on?
Well, I think we had a question when I was up here about, can we see payments for, carcass traits and things, and the reality of it is I can't see yields being one of those. Now, there'll be a lot of people that debate that, because when we look at the Osmeat trim across plants, like yield varies across every plant. And I've worked in other businesses that have run trials on different processes versus different processes, and the yields are incredible. And that's really, so that's a human component. So I think carcass quality, your Osmeat measurements, meat fat colour, rib fat measurements, your LPH, your eye muscle areas, your marling scores, that's a much better focus than yield, because the human error can interfere with the yield when you start talking about Osmeat trims, etc., etc. As much as the industry likes to think there's a standard Osmeat trim, there are variations, and a lot of you would know that when you send cattle to different processes, there is slight variations on that. But so I think a good focus is around that carcass qualities, because that's really where you're going to get paid.
And I don't know, I mean, I've been followed because I worked for a company that went very strong on the yield with the DEXA and what they weren't going to do to recompense producers that got better results, and it seems to have slipped a little bit into the too hard basket, and just the basics of measuring carcass yield and saleable meat yield, sorry. The 20 mil of fat that sits on top of a strip loin or a rump is saleable meat, but if you run it through the DEXA, it's worth nothing. So just coming to a balance of what is. Yeah, I don't know how anybody.
And your boning room. So then, if you look at your boning room yields, as a saleable meat yield straight off the carcass, I mean that just varies so much around what you cut, what you're packing, whether you cut, which rib you're cutting. And you've got to be very careful when you compare carcass data from plant to plant, and particularly in marble school, because depending on what they're cutting will depend on which rib they're cutting on. So you're obviously going to get a different marbling score. So there's no standardisation when it comes to breaking down a carcass, because every business has a different customer wanting a different thing. So even a marble score, we're probably a bit lucky that we look at our own systems and we know the variations between our plants as to where we cut our ribs, so we can make a calculation for that. But it does make it hard when every plant is basically doing something. We're sort of doing the same thing, but there's slight variations. We can throw your data out.
Yeah. Back to David. Mate, residual damage from the live export ban in 2011 is still being felt in the north. In your opinion, what can producers do to help safeguard their business? What can seed stock producers do to help facilitate this?
Yeah, definitely there is a bit of a hangover from the banning of the trade. There's no two ways about that. But I think the bottom line is communication, right? Unfortunately, you've got to play good cop, bad cop with the government, because we can't conduct a business, the live trade, without them. And the compliance and all the rest of it in country and out of country is extreme and very costly. But look, I think communication, your peak bodies, maybe a coming together of associations and the NTCA and others, and make sure you're all on the same page, because you can't be acting alone if something goes down. That's the problem. But no, it's a difficult question to answer, to be honest. It's probably more a question for for an exporter.
Yeah.
But I think communication and staying close to your peak bodies and being well informed is critical. Is critical. And coming together as there's enough peak bodies in the meat industry. We should all know where we all stand.
Thanks, David. Andrew, what are the most important traits for Brahman seed stock producers to be reminded of when selling genetics into the north?
I think, well, first and foremost, I think temperament and conformation for a start. Like we all know, quiet cattle travel better, they do better, they kill better in a feedlot situation. They'll feed better and settle quicker. So I think you can't understate temperament enough. So years ago, we recognised we had we needed to address a few things. So we drew a line in the sand and we just really focused on temperament. I think it's the best thing we ever did. Conformation, I think it's very understated. I don't think you can place enough emphasis on that as well. Cattle with good, if you don't have feet and legs, I don't think you've got an animal. So when we're selecting our bulls for sale, and they'll come in the round yard and I'll look at them and he looks good, he looks good, he looks good, and he's a bit off in condition, and I'll go, well, why is his condition not like the others? And you'll walk around him and have a look, and it'll be his feet or his legs, or be something, and I think that just flows on to a cow herd. cows that do better will breed better. But I think people should be focusing on, I think 400-day scradles. Like there's a bit of talk about the fertility of Brahmins in the north, so we do 400-day scradles in our bulls, and we place a fair bit of importance on that, and I think that's an easy measurement for people to do, and that would probably go a long way to, you know, part of the way to addressing some of the fertility talk that's around, maybe. But yeah, we concentrate on, well, we do 200, 400 and 600 day weights, and a semen test. We semen test our bulls. I think morphology is important. If that's what we do anyway. We believe in it.
Well, and scrotal and morphology both highly heritable.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you select from them,
yeah,
it's going to be a balance, isn't it?
yeah. So.
But and interesting that you should mention structure, because I was trying to bring that into the conversation somehow, especially reflecting on what Edwin had to say about feeding the cattle for an extra 20 days to get a bit better performance. It's really important. Like, I mean, half the criticism against Brahman cattle in feedlots is due to structure and their ability to not handle the 100 days if you're consistently, you know, wanting to push them that little bit farther. And there's plenty of Brahmans that can, but they've got to be structurally correct.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if they're put together correctly, they'll serve you well. Yeah, you can't look at it enough, I don't think.
Thanks, Drew. A similar question back to you, Brad. You bought a lot of bulls out of central Queensland. What are the traits you consider most important in the bulls that you buy, to go back to the territory? Like, what's the greatest advice you could give me as a bull breeder if you were my target market? No bet knows bulls.
Yeah. Probably a bit of temperament, of course, like the way insurance and workers' comp, and you know, you're breeding you want your kids to help, and that for us is a big deal. Probably, soundness, going on what Drew said, but probably also be able to get out and about and go for a walk and, you know, be active. Not something that's, I don't know, wants to go out, wants to do something, wants to go to work, but yeah, sensible at the same time. But yeah, I like a bit of female history too, like, not so much EBVs or whatever. Yep, but more mother, grandmother stuff, you know.
Raw data.
Yeah, just bloody, yeah, but definitely mobility, mate, because they've got to work for it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And you probably answered my next question for you, which is your last one, so you'll be relieved. Major pastoral companies that have moved away from Brahman genetics claim poor fertility is their biggest issue. As an association, how do we combat this assumption?
It's an excuse.
Yep.
I don't care what else or what they say, whatever. I think you had a speaker here last year going on about how much better performance with this different breeds and that breeds, but they didn't tell you they were weaning 50 kilo calves. And I think a boardroom get the branding figures or the weaning figures or the yearly performance, and they go, first thing they do is go, it's the bulls. Because that boardroom, them directors have got to make themselves, I don't care, they've got to make themselves get a quick fix. And you look at the long-term operators who spend their own money, what are they breeding? Hydesbury, Jumbuck, Hamish Brett, Askmob, what are they breeding? What have they been breeding for a long time? And as an association, I reckon advocacy, I mean, they all seem to blow their trumpet quite well all the time. So if we can get out there and tell a few good stories and a few good operations, some people that think, oh, they're getting cattle on the boat straight away, not an issue. They're getting a premium. Hey, Tony. But I think the more we get them good stories out there in the north and stop letting these people not spending their own money, thinking it's a quick fix, I believe that's one way we can do it, and we can, you know, bridge the gap and hopefully, you know, promote what we're doing and what we've been doing for a long time and been successful, and keep the industry cranking. And if the export's going to be looking for more cattle, as Tony said, it's harder and harder to find a good straight line of cattle. Yep, let's use that as our bloody, for the north anyway, you know, to our advantage.
Thanks, Brad. Drew, last one for you. Mate, do you see the encouragement of members to supply more data, both raw and EBV related, as a positive for the northern Brahman industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's all information, and it's strength for the breed. Yeah, it's something we can all build on. I think the more information provided can only be powerful for the breed. You know, you've just got to look at the Wagyus and Angus breed, how much information they've got coming in. It's exciting. We've just done our genomic EBVs for our sale bulls this year, and we're waiting for the information to come back. But I think anything that you can provide or is going on, it's great for the breed and it can only benefit the breed.
Thanks, Drew. Last one for you, Edwin. And we probably covered a bit of this today. The modern processing sector's profitability is heavily reliant on carcass weight. Kill costs have gone through the roof. Should the association be putting more influence on growth in profit indexes?
Well, I think by default the industry is like you're milking two-tooth carcass as heavy as possible is the top sell in any breed you go to. So inherently the industry is rewarding for faster growing, younger cattle at a heavier weight. But then if you talk about carbon footprints and sustainability, I mean the whole push is to the quicker you get your kilos on a plate, the lower the footprint. So it's an interesting space, but certainly the whole market is about getting an animal onto a plate as quick as possible, basically, at a good quality.
Thanks, Edwin. I've just got one question that to finish off with for all of yous. I don't know, I can ask it once and you can all give your opinion. In your opinion, what do you think should be the major focus of the Brahman breed going forward? Or some conclusive remarks you want to make towards the end. Like what do you think should be the association's major focus in trying to drag the breed forward?
Can I respond that with a question? So the genomics up here before, like my personal view is Angus and Wagyu is quite a shallow genetic pool. Brahmans, statistically is a very, very big pool of genetics. And there's some bloody good Brahmans out there. Like we see them every day, all day. How do we harness that genetic pool and get some crunching data? Is it simply just measure the shit out of every animal, or what's the answer to that? I don't know. Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yeah, you can ask a question. Reed Randall's the president. More than happy to answer the question. And I think you're right. And I think via genomics, and I think we are progressing. Like I think, and as I say, those of us that see a lot more cattle than our own see the differences in every herd. And it's all right to say we can choose everything on phenotype, but measuring is the underlining, and measuring is the help, and measuring is what helps you. Even if it's just an ability to erase the bottom 25%.
Yep. Yeah. So we had a quick chat down at lunch, but I mean there's to me it's about just getting data, reading data, and just targeting the thing you want, whether it's fertility, whether it's eye muscle area, whether it's rib fat, whatever it is. Just measure the shit out of it and find out where it's coming from, and then promote the hell out of it. Yeah,
very good. Thanks, Edwin. Go.
My thoughts would be marketing. I think a major focus of the breed going forward should be marketing. There's a little bit of negative sentiment in the north at the moment about with all this, people getting paid less for their feeder steers, and there's sort of this negative sentiment. Is there an opportunity for the breed to promote itself more, so like a clean green image, efficient image, and from a rangeland environment, can the breed sort of promote itself through with JBS or and MLA, the world, not every bit of steak we eat has to be a high marble score or a Wagyu. Like a lot of people with cost of living pressures on them just want a good, a family that's struggling just wants a good feed of steak. So or protein. So I would just suggest maybe marketing, and is there an opportunity there to promote the breed more, as a clean green alternative, and lean meat, like lean meat can be good for you. I'll probably leave it at that, but I think there's more opportunities there in marketing.
Yep, thanks, Joe. Brad?
Probably a couple of things. I've probably from the stud side of things is a bit of division from what I've noticed, and even a long time in the territory too. Like a lot of the fertility, single trait selection kind of areas has been pretty extreme, and I think as a breed we should all be sort of a bit like what Frontier Mob are doing, working together, just trying to bridge that gap a bit. Probably we see it all the time up at home. It's just been such a big thing, and I think that could be gap bridged a bit. But I also think from more of a Northern Australian perspective, and the Brahmins, because it's a lot of the area, a lot of the numbers is concentrated getting the calf to the yard with mum and back to the paddock as good as we can get it, because I think we're getting blamed from a performance base, from a management perspective, rather than people looking at themselves or operations looking at themselves, how they could improve things, rather than developing land, developing waters, developing this and that, making it harder for that little calf to get to that yard and get back to that paddock or weaners or whatever. And I think if we can promote that a bit, I think it might change the perception on the poor old Brahman cow.
Yep. David?
Yeah, marketing certainly, but maybe some in-country time with the exporters as an association as well to help promote the breed side by side.
As in Indonesia?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I mean, you've got nothing to lose. I mean, these guys are up there every 6 weeks selling their wares and selling your product at the end of the day. So maybe you could do some sort of cooperation in that respect,
Yep. Yep. And we have spoken about that, and it needs to happen. Even bringing some over here, internships.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It works both ways.
Yeah.
And Indonesia have been good at doing that in the last, 10 years.
Yeah. There's got to be a budget for it. Well, that's about it. Thank you very much, fellas. If everyone could put their hands down. Oh, no, well, sorry. Anyway, does anybody else have some questions? We'll keep it short and maybe just some one-offs, but the microphone's up here, so you might just have to stand up and speak loudly. Gus?
Yeah, my
Angus
thing is,
Creed.
Edwin, given, with scope for the mission stuff, this carbon targets, is JBS got anything in the pipeline around rewarding producers that are more neutral if they can prove it?
We're not there yet. The market's not there yet. So internally, from a JBS perspective, the JBS Global has set all these wonderful targets. We actually had a meeting last week about, because I don't know whether you saw that survey, that the top 400 companies in the world have basically done nothing so far. It looks like agriculture's the only industry that's actually done anything. And interesting, the work we've done internally, so we're currently measuring our feedlot footprints and our plant footprints, is actually quite interesting, the numbers. Look, we've got a lot more work to do, but when you really scratch the surface, the industry's come a long way simply because of fertility and weight for age gains. And if our target is to be net zero or a negative emissions from 2005, mate, we'd be smashing out of the park already, I reckon, as an industry. That's off the cuff, but because you think about, and I made that comment before, the biggest change in the last 20 years has been, we haven't got 8-tooth bullocks running around, we haven't got 6-tooth bullocks, they're now like 2s and 4s, they're 380 kilos, so the quicker you get to that, the better your carbon footprint. HGPs is a big part of the industry now compared to 20 years ago, and these are all the traits that bring your footprint down. So I actually think if we actually measured the industry properly, just on a carbon, you've got to remember that your natural capital base on a farm is very different to a carbon footprint. But just on the carbon footprint alone, I reckon we'd be, as an industry, be smashing it out of the park already. We just haven't measured it. So the more we measure it, I think we'll be actually quite surprised how well the industry's done. And I talk about, like say 20 years ago, in 2002 at Dinmore, we put a tertiary DAF system in to recycle our water. Now, in today's world, that would be called, oh, you've done a sustainability project. But back then it was, water was cost us an absolute fortune. Water went from like 50 cents to $3, and we're using 6-7 megs a day, and we're going, holy shit, this is going to break us. So we came up with a recycling program. So it made sense, business sense to do it. We covered our methane, our anaerobic, aerobic ponds 20 years ago, and have been pumping methane into the plant to run hot water and cookers for 20 years. Now today, that was just because energy costs was killing us 20 years ago. Today, that would be held up in lights as, my God, you guys are the most sustainable business in the world. So if you think about your own businesses, you guys have chased moving away from 8-tooth bloody ranging bullocks, 5-year-old bullocks running around, because it didn't make business sense. You needed the cash flow, you wanted to turn more numbers off, you know, all the drivers that make good sense. But inadvertently, you guys are sustainability heroes. And the more you measure that, the more the data will show that. So it's actually one of the few industries that has actually had significant productivity gains in a 20-year period.
Thanks, Edwin. Great question, Angus. Great response.
Yeah, can you tick the boxes for us when they come around with their little babies?
Well,
I've already done it.
I will add, so Stars in Japan's a very big, like a big consumer of meat, and one of our biggest customers. So we're working on a project. So they've come back to us quite urgently in the last month saying, what are you guys doing? They're freaking out. And so we've had a few phone hookups with them, and we're working through some projects with them. But what's happened in Japan is they've passed law that all the stock exchange listed companies, if they don't meet they'll be delisted from the stock exchange. So they're all running around madly, and it's not that they have to meet the targets; they just have to be seen to be doing something. So you know they wanting to say, oh, start feeding you know, your methane inhibitors to all your cattle in the feedlot. You know, that'll just tick the box for us. And we're sitting here going, our target's not till 2030 if we are going to stick to that. We know the research around, there's been $500 million the MLA and Australian industry spent on proving that additives reduces methane by X, Y, Z. And we're actually we're sitting there on the phone to them saying, why wouldn't you wait until December 2029, start feeding the bastards, and then you'll meet your target the next year. So we know the science is there. It's just there's just not a lot of measurement going on. That's the issue, and there's a lot of confusion. It's an industry in itself. But I do think in saying that, because I'm probably being a bit selfish on the carbon footprint because that's our piece, but I think there is some value in natural capital assessments for people that own land. I think there's a lot of merit in that. There's probably a lot of money to be made in that space. But if you talk about carbon footprint and methane, yeah, I actually don't see that as an issue at all. I think we're already there. So there's science, there's a few tricks up the sleeves, and we've got a few years to go. So, yeah. I will. Can I just add one more? So I find it ironic that the EU don't want HGPs. You know, and they're all sort of, you know, they're the ones telling us we need to be carbon neutral. One of the single biggest thing the entire industry could do is start hormoning every single animal, because you're getting that production gain. So the more you think about anything that increases production, reduces carbon footprint. So fertility, hormones, feedlot. All of which, well, certainly the hormones, the EU don't want. So at some point, someone's got to go back to the EU and say, if you really want to save the planet, start taking hormone meat.
I've spoken like a true champion. Last shot over the bow before you go. No worries. Well, I just got to go and grab my tablet. We'll move on to the members forum and answering the questions that were sent into us. I've just got to go and grab my tablet. But thanks again, fellas. I mean, as I say, over 100 years of experience there, and very rarely do you get to question a group of people like these and get some positive answers like we've got. So